Welcome, Tiny Hands Big Dreams. We're going to take a trip. So we're going to show you some stuff that you won't find elsewhere on the YouTube. You see a lot of videos of the big cities and the markets and the statues, museums, stuff like that. We have to go to Loja to get our cedulas renewed. So we're just going to head out from our house here on our little road, and we're going to show you the in-betweens, the stuff that nobody takes video of. So we start out, our first big city is Yantzaza. Sleepy this time of morning. This is early. We had to get up and leave really early. So we're just after dawn here. Beautiful city. Lovely vista. And this is the road that goes around the city. There's our little van, looking as tiny as ever. So it's just a rainy day that we have to go take a trip. This is about a 4-hour trip. We're going to condense it down to 15 minutes. I'm going to talk about some of the things we see. But this is the rural in-betweens of Ecuador. This is the main highway we're on. You see small farming, there's platanos, you'll see chocolate, you'll see some sugar cane. People with their yards and their animals and their cows. There's always dogs. If you keep an eye out, you see dogs everywhere, and they exist. So we saw a lot of construction this trip. There's a lot of new development, a lot of economic movement, new businesses, new homes. That's a hosteria. Parties, weekends, places like that. There's pool and games and bars and stuff. They're popular around here. And here's one of these little in-between towns. So part of this was just to show you what the average, kind of house and place and road in this part of Ecuador looks like. And one thing I found is the inside of a house in Ecuador is always the nicest. The front is usually okay, and the back, or the inside, the outside, are totally different. I don't spend money on the outside too much. So here's rolling into Zamora. And Zamora is kind of at the end of the valley that we're in, the big valley. And it's where the mountains come together, and it's like the last big city before you really head up over the pass to Loja, which is nestled up high in a little mountain valley. It's just different. Good size, has lots of stuff. So the first thing is there's a military base here. Training and things. There's some beautiful murals on the side. There's a lot of murals in Ecuador. That reads, Heroic in Battle. Via 62 Zamora. That's whatever troop trains here. The military here is generally well liked. They're not feared. That came up when the president appointed the military to help take over some of the issues, and honestly, it's working fantastically. Public reaction has been very good. People have gone out and fed the guys who are stationed near them. So they're cleaning out. They're arresting people. They're getting rid of corruption. How it affects us? Not at all. We've seen zero change in anything about any of it. It's literally just not present in this part of the country. This building in Zamora is really pretty and also horrible. So the back of it's there's no roof in the back. It's all open. It rains. There's birds in there. But it could have been beautiful. There's a story there. All right, pop over the river. And now we're into a part of Zamora. This is just sort of what it looks like. This is just an average street on our way to somewhere. We're not going out of our way to shoot the scenic sites or to, only showcase certain things. It's totally normal. That building on the left there was like the government building. We went there to pay our taxes. I walked in and, the whole process took me 15 minutes. Pretty easy. Roundabouts are common in Ecuador. A lot of times with statues and things. There's a bunch of them. So this is the bus terminal. The bus system in Ecuador is robust. They go everywhere and often, and there's lots and lots of private companies. You can get it anywhere on a bus, and it's pretty cheap. Now they just built this, and I believe this is the Central Market. It's an entire block. I just really like that mural. It's like a big relief mural on the side. So you see this, you know, the beautiful buildings, the fancy, and then sort of the dilapidated right next to each other, and everybody's just fine with that. Like you can put out whatever you want. You can, you know, have nice, have not nice, and there's not a lot of judgment about either way. You live how you want. There's another dog. Literally, they exist everywhere. They live free here. Rarely do you see a fight. There's never really a problem. They don't eat the wildlife. It's just really different. All right, so here there's a big project. They're putting some fancy roof over the local sport court and totally doing a renovation. That looks like the first step there. Occasionally you see just money dumped into like random things like that in the towns. The central markets were another one. A lot of the central markets got totally updated. All right, so once you leave Zamora, next stop is Loja. You are going to start climbing out the valley. It's a long journey. Loja to Zamora, it's at least a 45-minute grind up through the mountains. And you start by going to the end of the valley, and then it's just a long uphill slog. But there's some neat stuff along the way. There's an incredible amount of waterfalls, which you'll see. There's hydroelectric power. That powers all sorts of stuff, and that's kind of what the power is here. It's real clean, it's renewable. There's another waterfall. So they make use of it. There's more dogs. They'll literally just sleep on the road. Everyone goes around. Rarely do they get hit. Everybody just mostly coexists. Alright. So we're gonna cross this canyon here with a river under it. There's a ton of these little bridges, and you know what? It's actually really cool. I'm gonna turn around and go back for a second. Let me just go back. Ah, there we go. So that's what's off the side of the road there. And these are everywhere here in Ecuador, and they're beautiful. They're just really pretty. All right. Now let me go ahead and turn back around. All right, start grinding up the hill again. So the road in between the two is in pretty good shape. Our van is maybe a little bumpy compared to most vehicles. So you see it bouncing around. The image stabilization on the camera is really pretty good. I'll give it credit for that. So we started getting into some fog. And like I said, it's just a rainy day. So it's probably a good day to go for a trip. It's not like we were going to be able to get much done at home. But the waterfalls, everywhere. I can't even count how many waterfalls there are in this journey. Alright, here's the new bridge. The old one was off the backside there. It's kind of overgrown now with weeds. It was just made of wood and iron, and it was falling apart. There's a big old chasm in the earth there where they put that. And it goes down, it's so steep you can't even see the water. Alright, fog's getting thicker as we climb in altitude. It happens. This journey at night is not fun. I wouldn't advise it unless you know the road really well, and even then, it is more dangerous. I've known a couple of people who have gotten in accidents, not of their own fault, but by somebody else going too fast for the conditions and coming out of their lane and hitting them. So the next thing we come up to is probably the biggest waterfall on this trip. And it's really pretty. You know what? Let's stop. I'm gonna stop. There we go. Here's our little vanny. And there's this beautiful giant waterfall. There's actually stairs over on the side if you're brave and you want to climb up there. You be brave. There's a tiny little tienda, little shop on the right that I don't show. And they sell snacks and things and like lunches. There's like one table. People that stop. They put in a little restroom in the parking lot for everyone just to stop and enjoy the sight. Now you'll notice the scenery starts to change. We keep climbing. And we're getting into the cooler mountain times. So the vegetation starts getting shorter. It's more often that you get clouds up in this part. But it's really pretty. Elizabeth says this is, when we get up into these high meadows, this is some of her more favorite of the scenery of the journey. Okay, so there's a couple of towns, very small towns, that are tucked right up before you do the final climb out. And there's just some stores. There's butcher, they make soup. There was a pig hanging there. Every day there's a new pig, shows up in the morning, about 6, 7 in the morning. And all the people that live around come and get a piece. And that's how they get their food. Those houses are clinging to the side of a cliff. Like there's no ground under them. They're just on piers. Like there's really not room for a town, but yet here it is, and people exist here for generations. Alright, and a little further, occasional scattered house along the way. One of the other things you'll notice is the houses, they're not insulated. A lot of them don't even have windows. They just have holes in the wall. And that's totally normal. You also see the Ecuadorian roof, as I call it, which is an upstairs to the house that has no walls, and it just has a roof above it. And usually there's laundry hanging. People don't really spend money to dry clothes here when you can just hang it and it will eventually just dry, under an overhang roof. And it does. And it's cheap. Yeah, looking around on the internet, I really couldn't. I didn't find a good video of this journey. There we go. 33 kilometers to Loja. So I thought I'll just show the in-betweens. Nobody shows the in-betweens. Everything is super overproduced, is polished, is rehearsed, is things, and they're getting into this crazy kind of thing of everything has to be better and better and better. But what about reality? Like if you were to move here to Ecuador, what do you really see? And this is the 99% of what you see. That 1% that all the videos seem to focus on and show is literally the 1%. So here's the last little town. I think this is El Tambo. At the last little tiniest flat spot of land that exists on the way up. Yeah. And that's it. After that, there's really not much else, except for lots of grinding up the hill. Let's take a look at that. So that's the road we came up. That town was way down there. And you just keep doing this, and you do it, mountain after mountain after mountain. And eventually, boom! Once you get over the top, there's Loja, nestled down in a high mountain valley. So our first stop, Servian Trega, where we find out through a miscommunication that our paperwork is not here for our schedule appointment. Well, that sucks. So we had on our list, we wanted a few things from Supermaxi, which is the big fancy grocery store in town. And it's as big a fancy grocery store as anywhere else. Now, they're doing a lot of construction. There used to be a ton of little stores, shoe stores, electronic stores, things across the front. And I guess they've closed them all down. And they're re-walling. I guess they're going to put in expansion or maybe some more bigger stores. I don't really know. So you know, a quick shot of the inside. That's the chocolate section. Gotta get your chocolate, right? Picari. Man, Picari makes incredibly good chocolate. I don't know whether it's one C or two C's in the name. I'm not sure they know either. Both seem to work. So, leaving there, now we're headed back out of Loja, and this is typical driving down one of the main streets. Being, you know, normal apartments, some little shops. Super typical. If we go a little further down, there's the big central market, which you can find videos of the central market. There's Loja is sort of a disjointed, spread out kind of thing. So there's like sections and different areas where we find more of one thing or another. But there's a lot of construction here too. We're seeing a lot of new apartment buildings. We're seeing a lot of scaffolding. There's a big crane putting up some giant building, which is really unusual. So there's a lot of economic activity that's happening. It's really kind of neat. So we saw people prepping for next week, which is Carnival. So we go down to the Gran Columbia. We really just wanted this lady sells tiny herbs in pots. So we got these little pots for 50 cents with some herbs that we're having trouble getting starts of. Now the Gran Columbia is a huge market. This is just a tiny little corner of it. It's a full city block. There's no way to even show it, and there's other videos of it. But that's kind of our video. That's seeing the in-betweens, the 99%, all the little parts that nobody ever shows. You know, like this little corner, the back of the Gran Columbia, it probably doesn't exist in video. They show the fancy parts. They show some of the other vendors. Meh. I'm gonna show you the rest. Thanks. If you like this, please subscribe and share. We could use it.